Hello, and welcome to the North Texas Teen Book Festival's new virtual author panel series. I'm Mandy Aguilar from NTTBF and the Irving Public Library. Since we're not able to meet in person these days, we here at NTTBF wanted to make sure we feed your love of reading and hearing from incredible authors wherever you are, from the comfort of your own internet connection. So thank you for joining us today for the Raise Your Voice panel, the first in our series. Today's panel features Angie Thomas, Nic Stone, Kimberly Jones, and Christina Hammonds Reed, and it will be moderated by booktuber Nai'a Perkins from NayaReadsandSmiles. We are so excited for you to hear from these four incredible authors as they talk about the importance of telling authentic stories, community activism, and the craft of writing. After you watch the panel, please fill out our survey, which will help us evaluate and plan for future events. And also make sure that you follow NTTBF EST and Irving Library on social media for information about further events. And finally, remember NTTBF 20 back in March when we could still gather together and see authors in person? Here's a recap of that amazing day. Let Us Know panel.
I'm John Green. I write novels for teenagers.
How do you stay inspired?
Did you know you wanted to be an author when you were little?
I was pretty much told writers don't make money, you need to go be a lawyer, doctor, scientist, evil genius, whatever, as long as you make money. So I kind of had to go against the grain and prove everyone wrong.
So I think it's important to not have the identity be always this is a struggle for me, there's something I have to overcome. I try to make sure that fat girls can just exist and just have a story and not have the story be about their fatness. And the same for their blackness too. You can just be who you are and have a story, and that it's not anchored in the things that we kind of check off as identity boxes.
We're live. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the very first virtual North Texas Teen Book Festival panel. We have four incredible authors. I was saying earlier, I feel like I'm with the Avengers right now. But the first author we have is author Kimberly Jones, who is the co-author of I'm Not Dying With You Tonight, which I just re-listened to the audiobook or read it again, but in audiobook form, and it was a totally different experience. So highly recommend the audiobook. We also have author Christina Hammonds Reed, who is the author of The Black Kids, which just came out this week. So go pick it up, please. And also the cover, just perfection. And then we have the lovely Nic Stone, who, okay, I'm gonna try to name all your books. Dear Martin. odd one out. Shuri, as well as my favorite of all time, Jackpot, which like, I forced so many of my friends to read this book just so I can like have someone to talk to about it. It's amazing. And her newest book, Clean Getaway, which I have a 5-year-old sister and we're reading this together right now. And she just loves all the illustrations in it and it's amazing. And then finally, the incredible Angie Thomas, who I just got the collector's edition of On the Come Up, which is so shiny. Like, can you see, like, look, you can see it, it's so beautiful, as well as The Hate You Give. So yeah, thank you guys all for your time. And for the past week, readers have been able to submit questions. So I've chosen the 10 most like frequently asked questions and also a few of my own I threw in there. So yeah, okay. The first question that readers asked was, what did it feel like as a Black female author to publish your first book? What inspired you to write your first novel? I aspire to be just like you guys. Thank you so much for doing this. So feel free, anyone can jump in first.
Repeat the first half of the question. What did it feel like?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's not you. I'm just
when I talk. The first half of the question was, what did it feel like as a Black female author to publish your first book?
It was wild. I'll speak only for myself. Like it was a combination of really terrifying and really overwhelming. Exciting, but like the excitement was kind of like drowned out by all of the other factors for me. And I think that if I hadn't though gone through that experience of publishing that first novel and being kind of out there and having all of these people looking at me to answer questions about racism all the time, like I wouldn't have developed the attitude that I have now where I'm just like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. But yeah, 6 books later, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do what I want to do.
I guess I'll go next.
Oh, no, yeah, you just did this.
I just did.
It was fresh in her spirit.
Right. I apologize. I know you guys have probably answered these questions like 100 times. I really appreciate it.
For me, it's been terrifying. You're afraid of being misunderstood, but you're also really excited because it's obviously a dream come true. But it's been very strange for me also because it's been during the middle of the pandemic and in the middle of this like moment of racial upheaval. So I think on the one hand, it's weird because we're doing things like this virtually and not getting to like actually interact with people in the way that Angie and Nick and Kimberly have been able to do. So for me, it's almost felt like not real. I'm like, oh, I'm just sitting in the living room like it's another Friday. But it's also been, I think, kind of a cool moment, I guess, for me personally to be releasing this book in terms of the fact that all of our books have, I think, taken on that much greater resonance with people in this moment. And hopefully we're all able to make other Black children feel seen and to sort of give them tools to navigate this moment. So it just feels a little less lonely because it can be really overwhelming sometimes emotionally, right? Like it's a lot to take on and then also to advocate in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
I think for me, I felt like it was a little bit easier just because I was coming on the foothills of people like Nick and Angie and Jason and EB and like people like that. So I kind of like, and at the time in which I was writing my book was at the time in which they were all like swirling in the world. So it was easy for me to be like, oh, okay, I don't have to really tone it down. I can be my authentic self. Have you seen Nic Stone? You know what I mean? And so it just made it easier in that way of being able to own the idea that like the world was actually starting to be receptive to it. And receptive to new voice. It was still super scary for me because I'm like super ratchet and like a self-proclaimed hood chick. And I just was like, don't nobody want to hear my ratchet tales.
And I worried about that. Like me and my co-author Gili had long conversations about that. I had many long, breakfast table conversations with Nic about that, about like just owning the fact that some people were going to give me some pushback and be like, why is her voice like this? Why is she from this community? Why is she this type of girl? And I'm like, because that's my voice and that's my community. And I'm that type of girl. And I don't recall seeing myself on the page except for one time growing up, which was in the coldest winter ever. That's the only time I recalled seeing myself on the page. And I was working in programming through the Decatur Education Foundation with kids who were girls like me who didn't see themselves on the page ever. The only books I was able to get them to finish was Cookie, a Fort Worth Story by Tamika Newhouse, and The Hate You Give, and Dear Martin. And that literally, like, honestly, those were the only 3 books I was able to get those girls to read because it's the only time they felt self-reflected. And I was like, I know people keep saying that in order to expand the canon, we need to mute this girl because they didn't want to hear from the hood girl anymore. But I was like, but we still out here. So I got to, and so I'm just gonna own the fact that there's gonna be a sector of people who don't like what I write, and there is a sector of people who don't like what I write. But there are kids that I visit in Title I schools every day who my book is the first book they've ever finished, and that it was more of a priority for me.
They said it all, so I mean they summed it up beautifully. I can't add to that.
Goes into another question that we got a lot, which was, what advice do you have for new writers of color when they feel like their stories aren't worthy of being told?
Write them anyway. Mm-hmm. You just have to. I mean, the thing about being Black in America, especially, is that we're always made to feel as if we're not the norm. We're always made to feel as if we're too much or not enough, never right. We're never seen as the default. And we've always been made to feel as if we're other. And we have to own our stories and own the way we tell our stories and own the fact that we have the ability to tell those stories and we have the right to tell them just as much as anyone else. So you have to just tell them, period. You can't worry about whether or not people will accept it, because if you don't get past that, you will never get those stories out. You have to recognize that there's going to be somebody out there who's going to read that story and see themselves in it. And that's the only thing you need to focus on. That kid, if it's just one kid or one person, that's it. So write them anyway. Don't let all that stuff get in your head, because if the people who came before us did that, we wouldn't be here right now.
Facts.
You know, if that's what being a trailblazer is about. That's what being, a leader is about. Sometimes you got to step out there and do something you haven't seen done before, or you don't see done a lot, and you have to do it regardless. You have to take those leaps of faith. So write it anyway. Do it anyway. I mean, the worst that could happen is nothing happens, but you don't want to look back one day and say, oh, I wish I would have gave it a shot.
Right.
Like, you don't want to leave here with regrets. Life is too short. Don't leave here wondering, I wonder what would happen if I did it. And instead be able to say, well, I tried and this is how it happened.
That's why Angie Thomas is my boo, because she just be out here dropping these bars and these gems. And she's absolutely right. If we can do it, why can't you, right? Like, I think about the fact that like, we are doing a thing that we can do because Walter D. Myers did it, Jacqueline Woodson did it, Jason Reynolds did it, Kekla Magoon did it. So like, if they can do it and then we saw that they could do it and we're doing it now, that means that you can do it. And there's nothing can stop you but you. And I think that's a really important thing to recognize, especially when you're an author, a Black author, or an author of color. Like, nobody can actually tell you can't do a thing besides you. So it's up to you to decide that you're going to do it anyway, like Angie said. All the snaps for young short A.
Yeah. And I think also...
I'm about to log off now. I'm about to log off.
I love you.
Whatever. You don't have to do that. I'm about to log off. I'm going. Bye.
And I feel like not feeling like you have to be part of any particular program, because I feel like sometimes there's also this idea that you need to have a certain educational background too, like you need to have gone to certain schools, or you need to have gone to certain fellowships or MFA programs, and so people stress themselves out feeling like I don't have that background. But a lot of times those programs aren't really traditionally meant to uplift Black voices or uplift the voices of people of color. Like when you go into one of those spaces as one of the only Black women or one of the only people of color in the room, or queer people, like your voices aren't always nurtured in those spaces. So don't necessarily feel like you have to get degrees in creative writing, or you have to get an MFA, or you have to go to film school, or you have to do whatever. Your voices are important, and also just putting out more stories is important. The diversity of experience is important. You don't want everyone who comes out into the world with a book to sound like the same person, right? Like that's not interesting to read.
No, I completely agree. I was sorry, but like I was a part of a creative writing program, and the list of books they had for required reading, there was not one Black author or author of color. And I'm like, are these the only classic books you're recommending? Like, is this what we're gonna study for a year? Because if so, then I'm gonna just go to the library and like do this myself. Someone else had asked, I'm currently writing my own fiction novel, heavily inspired by my own experience as a Black female in America. Sometimes writing feels like opening up all of these wounds. How do you handle the mental hardship of writing a story/character that is so personal to you?
Kim, you take this one, because like I've heard you talk about this before, and I think that your answer is going to speak for all of us.
It's funny because it's how I processed my PTSD from being a victim of police brutality. So I had a really rough night with Cobb County Police one night. I ended up, I'll tell you the short version, I ended up being arrested for something I shouldn't have been arrested for. One of my good friends who was with me, who was Latinx, who was in the car, they ran her through ICE. Even though she's a national. They realized that they didn't have a reason to arrest me, so they hid me in a men's holding cell for 48 hours and didn't allow anybody who knew me to be able to find me because I wasn't processed. And I was just fortunate that the brothers in that cell were not, horrific people. And basically they kept ringing the bell being like, do y'all know it's a girl in here? Is this a mistake? There's a girl in here. Is she supposed to be in here? There's a girl in here. And just even some of the things that happened to me once they finally got me transferred to the women's side of the jail, and that whole process, it was all a horrific night. And I have been so conditioned to believe that the only police brutality worth talking about was when there was a homicide, that I thought that I should be able to just keep going past that and not deal with it. And I was actually having to write a scene, and I'm Not Dying With You Tonight, where the girls are being mishandled by some police, and I had like a mental break while writing it, and actually that section of the book got taken out because I couldn't even. And we were in editing when this happened. We were already we were in our developmental edits when this happened, and I just could not write it. I couldn't write it. Every time I attempted to write it, every time I attempted to go through that section, I would like have uncontrollable crying. I would basically have a panic attack every time I was trying to write this section. And it made me realize, though, that there is a fine line between what you should give to the world and what you should keep for yourself.
Whew, girl.
Yeah. And so I realized in that moment, there were some things I could process with the book and some things that were just for me to deal with on my own. But I think that now that I've gotten to the place where I can even tell that story without being upset, I think it's a nice footnote to the book that I like to share, because I want people to understand that your art can be cathartic and it can help you. And it did help me, because I was not going to get therapy until I couldn't write that chapter. And that's when I realized, and all my friends, like my good friend Bree, who wrote Hands Up, just leaned over the table one day and said, you need to go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
So it's, it can be therapy and it can be cathartic, but if you find that it is destroying you to do it, you don't owe it to anybody.
Thank
can keep it to
you.
yourself.
This is such a good point. And honestly, it's the reason that I write boys. Like I write boys because there's a lot of stuff in my own life that I'm just not ready to get into in fiction. Like I'm not ready to put certain things in books. And I do think that this feeling that we often have as writers of color, as especially as like Black authors, this idea that we have to put our trauma, we have to put our pain on the page. I just don't buy it, right? Like I think that at some point you do get to decide what you want to do with your own story. If you want to tell your own story, cool. But if you don't, that's also okay. You can fictionalize parts of your own life story and put them into other characters. And I think that's an important thing to acknowledge and to accept.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that will help a lot of aspiring writers, because I know as an aspiring writer myself, like I've had points like that. And it's so hard because I think there's that expectation that like you said, Nic, like you have to share everything. And sometimes like that pressure could just be like I can't write today. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Someone asked, I feel like we may have touched on this a little bit, but how do you personally handle criticism? Another person had asked along the same lines, I aspire to publish a novel, but the fear of criticism just keeps stopping me from finishing it.
You have to limit your critics.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, everybody's, I'm trying not to curse. Opinions
okay.
are,
Go ahead.
Opinions are like, opinions are like butt cracks. Everybody's got one. It doesn't mean you got to listen to what comes out of it. Okay.
On a t-shirt, please.
No, you have to limit your criticism because first off, there are levels to it, specifically when you're not a published author and you're doing the book and you are trying to get it ready to get to a literary agent. You can get, fellow writers to critique partners. And as long as they're people that you feel as if, okay, they know what they're doing, it's good to listen to them. All right. But once you get past the querying level and you get an agent, start limiting who your criticisms come from. You can get them from your agent, of course. You can get them from some fellow writers, but still limited. Then once you get to the publishing aspect of it, your biggest critics, the most important critics are, again, agent, but also editor. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, and maybe fellow writers, fellow authors, but beyond that, you don't have to listen to criticism. I'm sure there are people who have things to say about my books on Goodreads and Amazon. I don't read it. You know why? Because I can't do nothing about it now. It's out there. I can't give their criticism that much weight. So you have to limit where it comes from. But you also know that criticism can be a good thing. We tend to take it personally, especially when we're baby writers. But honestly, I'm in this now. I'm working on book 3, 4, all that. And I'm still at times, I'm like, okay, let me take a day or two before I read my editor's notes. So yeah, it can hit hard still, but recognize that true change comes from discomfort. So sometimes you got to get uncomfortable when it comes to your writing, and that's okay. But again, limit where your criticism comes from, and don't listen to everything everybody has to say, because before you know it, you will be writing your book for your critics and not for yourself.
Ooh,
that's dangerous.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I think, and like, there's another piece of this for me, and it's kind of 2 parts. The first part is you got to separate yourself from your work. Like your selfhood and your work should not be so intertwined that somebody critiquing your work means it's like you take it as a critique of yourself, right? Like I had a really exciting, I was actually talking to Jason Reynolds about this the other night, and how important it is to see your work as your work, not as you. Like my work, Dear Martin, I Went Out, whatever, those are things that I created. They are not me. So if you hate it and you rip it apart, cool. I still think I'm pretty great. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to affect my sense of self or my sense of worth because somebody doesn't like something that I created. The other piece, like Angie said, definitely limit the amount of critics that you allow to speak to your work. But I also think that it's important to like know that you're not going to please everybody. And
yes,
I had a mentor once tell me that publishing is designed to weed out those without fortitude. So like you just got to buck up, honestly. Like the stories that are inside of you, either you believe they need to be told or you don't. And if you believe that they need to be told, you're not going to let anything stop you from telling them.
And then I think also in the writing process, like when you're as an unpublished writer, getting through just your initial manuscript without any sort of feedback from anyone, when you hand it off to people you trust, understand that sometimes a criticism isn't always what they're saying. Sometimes they may be like, I don't know what's going on, and this scene you should do A, B, and C. It doesn't mean you should actually do A, B, and C. It just means that you should look at that scene and see what's not working that makes them think that you should do A, B, and C. So don't necessarily change your work to somebody else's recommendations. Just try and glean as much as you can from those critiques why something may not be taking on the shape that you want it to. But don't like throw out your whole manuscript because somebody you give it to was like, oh, you should change this scene, this scene, and this scene. So it's also just knowing your own process and knowing your own intent when you're going into writing something. I think that's super important to like remember as you're doing it, and not to let anybody else kind of steer you away from that without like really examining what it is they're trying to say.
Wonderful, thank you. And speaking of the creative process, a question that people submitted a lot was, what is the easiest and hardest part of your personal creative process when writing a book?
Revision. I hate revision. I want it to die. I wish I could pay somebody else to do that part for me. I hate it. Like, I love draft. Like, I can just sit and just wax poetic and spill things out of me, and then I want to turn it in and somebody else do the rest. But it doesn't work like that, sadly.
For me, because I co-author, because Geely and I write together, it took us a while to find the system that worked for us co-authoring and getting that done. And we found that we only were productive if we were like physically together, like sitting next to each other, being like, Lena, don't talk like that. And like going through that whole process. So now in the pandemic that we've been spoiled for the past 5 years that we've been writing together, and we can't actually be physically together all the time, we have not been that productive. The end.
I think the hardest part for me is the crippling self-doubt towards the end of it. Like, and that's just being real honest. Like, you get through something and you're like, okay, I've done it and I've revised it and I've revised it again. And then there's like, at least in the writing of this, there was a moment just before I had my final draft where I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody's going to read this. Why am I doing this? It's so arrogant to assume that I could write a book and anybody would pay for it. And that to me was the worst part of the entire thing, just like the complete breakdown before the breakthrough, if that makes any sense.
That never goes away, by the way. Like, I know that's not encouraging, but also like,
I was hoping it got better.
Like, be encouraged. Angie, am I wrong? Like, it never goes away. Like, that crippling doubt never. And honestly, I think that if it did go away, it would say that there's something wrong, because like, you're supposed to continue evolving and all that stuff. Jodi Picoult is one of my mentors, and she has a book coming out in October. And I remember in April getting this text message that was like, I hate this book. I was like, wait, what? What do you mean you hate this? It's the worst thing ever. No, it's not. There's no way that this is the worst thing. It doesn't go away. Welcome.
Yeah, and that's a good thing though, right? Because my mom used to always tell us, anyone who thinks that they're great is not that good. And it took me till I was older to understand what she meant. Like, anybody who's like, I'm killing them out here in these streets, usually not killing them out here in these streets.
I'm just saying.
It's that self-doubt that keeps you sharp, that keeps you like trying to do your best work, because you're just like, this is not great, I need to fix this. But it's like, you're like, I got it, it's lit, bow down, I'm the GOAT. And you're like, you are not the GOAT.
You're not the GOAT. You're not the GOAT.
Thank you. Someone else had asked, Oh gosh, let me see. Oh, okay. Here's a good question. How do you balance the multiple, like I guess, multiple aspects of a book? So you have your characters and your plot, and you have, depending on what I guess genre you're writing, you have multiple moving parts in the novel. Someone asked, how do you balance all that and stay sane? I guess if that makes sense.
Do any of you actually balance it? Because I sure don't. Like I just be like, it's just like chaos all the time.
I've had characters that have 4 different names in one novel. Like
Facts.
I could have sworn her name was Judy, not Judy. Interesting.
It's not Judy. It's Samantha.
A different name in each chapter. You're like, where are all these characters coming from? Oh no, her name changed.
Oh, she just no, this Samantha. She was Samantha in chapter 2. She just changed. It changed. No, but like, okay, so when I start a novel, I have a character template that I use to get to know the character, but and I am an outliner, but like once those 2 things are in place, a lot of it is just this kind of unexplainable thing that happens. And it's interesting. I find that when people ask me craft questions, a lot of times I'm like, I mean, there's just this kind of nebulous thing where the story comes out and I put it as it comes out of my head, and I wish I could tell you exactly how that works, but I'm not sure. The characters are always talking to me, and that's only okay. It's only okay to have people who don't exist talking in your head when you're a fiction writer. Like you can't, that's not a thing that's okay any other time. So you just kind of go with it. Like I don't know that there is a way of keeping, I think you just kind of have to embrace the chaos is what I would say.
I came at it from a screenwriting background, so I think one thing that could be helpful, depending on who you are, is just kind of structuring it according to that, and then knowing when to blow up that structure. But just for getting started, sometimes it's helpful to have that structure, like the 3-act structure in place, or like, what are my characters' arcs? So there's a lot of screenwriting books that you can read that might help with that. And then it's also just knowing when it's okay to say, I don't want to do that. That's not the kind of book I'm trying to write. So if it gets you started, do what gets you started. And then you can explode things as you're writing and embrace the chaos. Sometimes cool stuff comes from the chaos, right?
Villain pops out of nowhere. Where did it come from? Let's put that in there. Okay, the next question was there a defining moment, either like in your childhood or your adulthood, where you're like, I want to be a writer? Like was there a book you read, or was there just any moment, or was there just like any specific moment or memory where you're like, I want to do this. This is really cool. No, we just knew at birth.
I had a teacher, like, so I went through my academic career undiagnosed ADHD. I didn't get diagnosed with ADHD until I was adult. That was too late. But but it's like, what is wrong? In 8th grade, they're like, what, like legit, what's wrong with her? I'm like, I learned different. Sorry.
Give me my space.
Your loss is my superpower. My brain works different and better than yours. But I had this one amazing teacher, Miss Lumpkin, who taught me for both 7th and 8th grade. And for the record, I learned more about my Black heritage the 2 years that woman taught me than I did the entirety of the rest of my academic career combined. But one of the things she would do, she knew something was a little off with me. But I didn't have a diagnosis, but she was like, this kid is very audible. And if I allow her to speak, she's fine. It's getting her to sit at a desk and focus. That's the issue. And so she's the one who actually taught me some ADHD tips that I didn't even like realize. Like she would give me my work in small chunks. She'd be like, you do these first 10 pages and I'm going to come back and give you 10 more pages to do later. And then I was like a A student. Before that, I was like a BC student because I was like, I can focus halfway through. I'm going to get these right. But the rest of them, I'm making origami in my desk. Concern yourselves with yourselves. And so but there was this one moment where the ADHD was at a 10 that day, and I was mad, out of control. And I had turned her class into a 3-ring circus. And so she said, you know what, Kim Jones, since you can't clearly behaving is not on your agenda for today, you teach class then for the rest of the class. Since you don't want to give me the space to teach class, you teach class. And I was like, I can do that. You threaten me with a good time, Miss Lumpy. I'll turn this class out. So, so I stood up and I taught the rest of the class. I taught them, like, I had been going to after school program at the DuSable Museum, which is a Black museum in Chicago. I had also been going to after school program at Operation Push, Rainbow Coalition. I taught Black history for the rest of the class in 8th grade. And I was like giving assignments. I was living my best life. And so, after that, when I would get unruly, that's what she would do. She would give me like an hour and be like, I see you need to express yourself. What are you teaching today? And I'll be like, well, today I'm going to teach y'all about Marcus Garvey. Is everybody prepared? Open your notebooks. And it was...
There he go, right there on my over my shoulder.
Yes, exactly. And so it was where I realized that I was a storyteller. I went around the bend and back again to answer your question, but that's where I realized that I was a storyteller, because the class would be like captive. And especially for a kid who was sitting in class every day, all day, literally feeling dumb because I just didn't know how to learn the way that I was being taught. And so feeling stupid, feeling dumb, feeling like unworthy, to have those moments where it was like, for this hour that I'm teaching, everyone is rapt and everyone is listening and everyone is engaged. It did something for my little spirit. And I was like, this is what I want to do, is tell stories. Like I'm good at telling stories. Like I suck at all the rest of this stuff, but I can tell a story and I can captivate an audience. And so that's when I went to my mother, and that's when she put me in acting classes and writing classes. And they put me on the oratory competition team, and I was doing debate and all this stuff that allowed me to live in my own gifting. Because I mean, if you judge a fish's, intelligence by their ability to climb a tree, they're gonna feel dumb. And at that moment, I just like sat in class all day and just felt dumb until people let me tell stories. And then for that moment, I felt smart.
Angie, I need you to talk about green eggs and ham. I need Angie to tell us about green eggs and ham. No, this is important.
It wasn't that one for me.
It's not the one for you? You should tell that one anyway, because it's one of my favorite of your stories.
It was kind of really when I had a teacher in 3rd grade. I was writing stories when I was younger. If my mom read me bedtime stories and I didn't like the way they ended, I would tell my own version, and she encouraged it. Like, she let me rewrite Green Eggs and Ham. They really let me write in the book. So don't do that. But yeah, I rewrote it. I was like, he shouldn't like Green Eggs and Ham at the end, because I was a stubborn kid. I'm like, no, he needs to be rebellious. Dang it. I didn't say that, obviously, but that was the thought process. But for real though, it was really, the moment was when my 3rd grade teacher once caught me writing stories in the middle of class while everybody else was finishing up their tests, and I was already finished. And she was checking to see if people were cheating, and she came up behind me and she was like, what are you doing? And I freaked out because I thought I was in trouble. And I started crying and told her I was writing a story, and she let me get up and read it in front of the class. And realizing how much my classmates loved hearing my stories, and then realizing the emotional control I had over them with a cliffhanger, I was hooked. So that's probably why I end my books the way that I do, because in 3rd grade, my classmates gasped at the end of Mickey Mouse's space adventure when a meteor approached Mickey Mouse's spaceship, and I ended the story like that, and they are still wondering how that turned out.
Bro, just rude.
But that feeling has never left me of control and emotional control over people. So that's why I write. This is a therapy session now.
I love it.
I guess
just imagine little 3rd graders being like, but what happened?
Yeah. I was like, and then
do they die? Like, do everybody die?
Like, I was like, and a giant meteor approached Mickey's spaceship. The end, and they were like, what?
What you mean? That's it.
It was,
See, just rude.
it was, oh my God, it was the best feeling ever. That's so mean.
That word mean. It's diabolical. That word
It is.
At least you recognize. That's all I'm saying.
I recognize. In the best
That's all.
way.
That's all that matters is you recognize.
I mean, at least I became a writer and not like something else.
Right.
This is true.
Did not become a villain.
You really could have went a different
was,
direction. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That was the thought process I had in 3rd grade. It's a miracle that I'm just a writer.
This is not incorrect.
Really, the scariest people on earth.
I just, you know what, like.
Anybody who've looked at any of our like internet history, we all look a little suspect.
We really do. Like how do I hide a body when floating on a raft down the Mississippi? Like that's something that you would find in my browser history.
Like, I'm gonna be real with you. The FBI reached out to me recently. They wanted me to do some stuff with them, and I turned it down because all of my heroes have been targeted by the FBI. And I was like, they must have looked up my stuff and they weren't alarmed by all my Google searches. Are you kidding me? What is wrong with our government?
They probably, you fit right in. That's the problem.
like this is the mindset we need right here.
This is right. Like, y'all saw all that stuff and y'all was still cool.
Look,
that says a whole lot. Like,
how do we overthrow a government? Like, you got all kinds of stuff in there.
I've been looking up how you cook coke and crack and stuff. Like, y'all wasn't concerned. Like, nobody never crossed their mind. Like, maybe we should. No, they were like, let's work. Yeah, you want to work with. I'm sure y'all looked up my Google search. You go with the person that's learning how to cook crack.
They're like, it's for research purposes.
Like, they must have, but I'm like, how do you know? No, you don't know.
You really don't know. It's not a thing that you don't know.
You don't know if Angie trapping after dark. You don't know
exactly. I be trapping. And y'all cool
out there in her gated community.
When you guys were in school, did your teachers ever give you writing prompts? Like those little
like y'all just went off the rail.
Now you're trying to bring us back. We appreciate
No, I'm just asking because I know my teacher used to give us little writing prompts and I'd always turn mine into like a horror story. They'd be like, a man shows up with a balloon and I'd be like, and then he kills everyone. Like those little writing prompts that they give you through like creative writing class in like elementary school. Just out of curiosity,
I mean, if you ever get stuck as a writer, always kill somebody. Not that they're gonna stay.
Oh my God! In the books.
Yeah.
In the book, Kim.
In the book. In the federal agents that are listening, I'm in as a writing expert.
You already know they watching you after that video that went viral. You better watch what you say.
You talk about revenge. Equality and revenge. We need you to not get on the revenge tip and then all of a sudden everything goes to the left. Let's just not kill anybody.
I didn't kill anybody. He was a character.
Okay, good. So I didn't have a teacher who would give us I had a teacher who would have us do free writing sessions, right? Like we would come into class and we would sit down and he would say, all right, you guys got 5 minutes. And we knew that in that 5 minutes, you just wrote whatever you felt like writing. But it was in those 5-minute bursts at the beginning of class 2 days a week that I started to realize that like writing was something that I could do and that writing had power, right? So like, I would usually be writing about my ex-boyfriend who was out here tripping and like, oh, I saw him in the hallway with Shatika and I just was not really feeling it, but I can't do nothing because I'm like head cheerleader, so I can't be out here wilding because then people will be thinking crazy about me. Like this is the kind of stuff I'm writing about in these free write sessions, but coming to discover that I could express myself freely through writing, like it completely changed. I think it changed my trajectory because like in high school, we were reading, I didn't meet no good Black people in books at high school. Sadly, I met like Tom Robinson, poor guy, right? Karen with her white tears got my man's took out, like completely. I met Jim from Huck Finn, this poor, like I didn't want to be no escaped slave, obviously. And then I met Crooks from like these are the 3 Black people I met in high school readings. So I'm like, I'm not trying to be like none of these people. Right. But having this space where I could write whatever I wanted was magic. I kind of wish there had been prompts, because I do think, Naya, I would have went the way that you did, because I would have plugged that ex-boyfriend into everything. Like, a man shows up with a balloon and he sees my ex-boyfriend talking to some other girl, and so he pops the balloon and it's got cyanide in it, and he lets it drift over. Like, yeah.
Wow.
Panel for children, right?
You're right. That wouldn't have been a children's. No, that would be a good YA novel, actually, if we're being honest. We all have that ex-boyfriend that we would like to suffocate with cyanide. Wow, I should really.
And the guy with the balloon.
Wow.
So
Nick,
I
you
have
know
one
which
book-
one of my ex-boyfriends I want to get with the cyanide, but we'll talk about that off
Oh,
camera.
I do know. I know very well.
We'll make it an anthology. Everyone can write a chapter about the guy with the balloon, like who he would go after.
They're speaking hypothetically, federal agents.
Yes, yes.
These are just jokes.
Or girl. We said guy, but or girl, right?
It could be a girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, absolutely.
Okay, so I think we have 2 more questions. Someone asked, what advice would you give on how to balance writing while working full-time or part-time, raising children, and overall just adulting while also writing?
Hard one.
We're all like,
Okay, so I'm probably the closest to having had a job out of everybody here. Recently, I mean, the only good thing about working while writing is that sometimes it forces you to structure your day. Like I am not somebody who's a very structured person, but like if you only have from like 5 to 7 or 5 to 8 to get stuff done, if you can, don't go home, okay, this doesn't count during the pandemic, but you could like spend those 3 hours at a coffee shop writing, and like, I will set aside this time every day. And yeah, you're tired, and yeah, you're just like, I'm so beat, but do whatever you can do. And that's something.
Yep.
Like if it takes you a few years, it takes you a few years, but at least you've done it. And sometimes it's also sacrificing your weekends. Like in the process of writing this book, I didn't see my friends very much. I love my friends. I didn't see them at all. They're just like, okay, do your thing. So it's sacrificing, I think, to a certain extent. And you're not going to be able to do everything perfectly. It's not going to be easy. But I think when you love writing and it's something that's compelling you to write, you make time for it, even if it's just like writing notes your iPhone late at night. Like I'll write stuff at 2 o'clock in the morning when it comes into my head while I'm using the restroom. It's probably too much information. Right. But you just
I can speak to this from the mom angle, and Kim can vouch. Like I would sit with a baby on my boob writing, like, because whenever there was
photographic evidence of that.
She does, because we would have these writing Fridays at Gilly's house. And so like I would sit there, Milo's like a baby.
Yeah, he was a baby.
And he would just be on the boob, and I'd be like typing with one hand. Like you do what you have to do to get to where you want to be. And I think I learned how to write during naps. Like for me, the idea of needing like this quiet space and time to really sink into flow is like legitimately laughable. I don't get that ever. At this point, with the pandemic going on, I have like a friend's house that I will literally go crash on his couch and write for as long as I can. Today, I was there for literally 45 minutes. But you take whatever time you can get and you use it towards like the pursuit of the dream. And like Christina said, like you gonna have to lose some other stuff for a minute, and that's okay.
Yeah, and give yourself little rewards. Like I'm a rewards-based person. Like if I do this, I get to do that. So it would be like if I haven't written today and I'm like dying to watch like P-Valley or whatever, then I have to promise myself that I have to finish 1,000 words in order to watch my show. Or like when Nick would be sitting there with Milo, they know how obsessed I am with Milo. It would be like, you have to write these many words to hold the baby. Like legitimately, she would be like, you have to write 500 words to hold the baby. Once you write 500 words, then you can hold the baby. And I would be like, but Milo wants to sit with his Meemaw. And she would be like, Milo's Meemaw needs to write 500 words.
This is all factual, Fred. All of it. Yep. I mean, I got a picture somewhere.
She would withhold the baby from me. That is cruel and unusual.
It is not cruel or unusual. This is called incentivization, is what it's called, if we're being honest. He was born in what, 2016? And look, man, I'm gonna be straight up. I sold Dear Martin in February 2015. I had a baby. At that point, my older son was almost 3. Yeah, he was almost 3. And then I got pregnant and I had another baby in 2016. And like, I just like, I'm not letting it stop me, right? Like, and I think it's important. I think it's important to recognize what you can actually do. I will say, not everybody, like if you're dealing with like postpartum depression, like don't expect yourself to be able to write a book. But there is something to be said for deciding that you're going to do something and making it work no matter what.
Yeah, and I'll just add this last little thing. Like, I also was blessed that my last like real grown-up job was managing a children's bookstore. Because I used to be the general manager for Little Shop of Stories. And so there was lots of inspiration coming into the store all the time. I remember like the fateful day. I'm like, in 20 years, I'm going to tell this story. It's going to have so much weight. I'm going to blow my grandkids' minds. Like, I remember being in Little Shop working a shift and Becky Albertalli coming in with this new author who was about to have a book coming out named Angie Thomas. Or I remember and being like, Kim, you should make sure you order Angie's book. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. That's my
The baby
legs. He's so cute.
Oh, this is the picture I was thinking about. Kim was sitting across the table. I think, Kim, you might have taken this picture.
I took that picture with baby Milo. Hi, baby Milo. Yeah.
That's a great photo.
Yeah.
My little editor.
Okay, the very last Oh, sorry. Okay.
I'd add to that. I think a lot of times we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to write a certain amount of words to make ourselves feel as if we're worthy as a writer. And I think, or you have to write a certain number of pages in a day or else you haven't done anything, especially right now. Whatever you get down on the page is good enough. Okay. Like, I think Adam Silvera once said, he was like, if you wrote like, let's say 300 words a day and like a year, you've got like a year, you got like a book, something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but it's like bits and pieces. It's okay if you got to be the tortoise in the race. That's all right. It's okay if you only get 10 words down today. It's okay if you get no words down today. Be kind to yourself and don't put so much pressure on yourself to meet a certain standard every single day. It's going to change, especially nowadays. So, be kind to yourself in the midst of it.
And as far as your mental health goes too, for people who are struggling with depression or anxiety or whatever the case may be, like sometimes you got weeks where you can't do stuff and that's okay. Like, beat yourself up if you can't do it. If it's like, I'm having a really difficult week, I can barely function, take care of yourself. The writing will be there. Sometimes from those dark places, you get ideas and you're like, okay, wait a minute, I can go back to it now. So be kind to yourself, like Angie said, and whether it's a pandemic or whether you're just having an episode, right?
And the very last question is, what do you hope readers gain from reading your novels? What is one thing you hope your reader takes away from all the stories that you've written, or story that you've written? Sorry to end on this question.
We're going to make Christina go first because she's the baby.
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
It's like a hazy, right? So I think one of the things I want readers to take away is that it's okay to have made mistakes. Like the character in my novel, Ashley, she is like kind of deeply unlikable for some portions of it. She is selfish, self-centered. She's not as aware as she should be. She's not as proactive as she should be. And I think that that's something that's, to me, it was important to write her in this way, because what's important is your growth as a person. Like a lot of people are not fully formed activists when they're young. I think maybe it's a little different for Gen Z, but like there's a lot of us who have to come to a recognition of ourselves and a love of ourselves and empathy for other people. And it's not important where you start, but where you end up, right? So like learning is the entire process. And for me, my book is about her learning and her self-discovery. And I hope that people can kind of arm themselves with that and just be like, you know what, it's okay that maybe I didn't know the right thing to do, but I know now.
See, you killed it. I made you go first and you killed it. It's all love. I mean, look, from my books, what I want people to take is that like Black people are amazing. Like, period. Like that's really the bottom line. Like Black people are fantastic in every way. Like no matter what circumstances you drop us in, we can thrive. Fiend.
I want my readers to take away from my story, specifically the Black kids who pick up my books. I want them to take away from it that their lives matter, their dreams matter, their stories matter, and they have stories worth telling. You know, so often, for so long, publishing made Black kids feel as if our stories weren't worth telling because we could barely find ourselves in books. And a lot of times when we were in books, we were just the sassy sidekick or the angry Black girl or the thug or this or that. And we never had our own story. And I hope that my books tell them otherwise, that your stories are worth telling and they're worth hearing, they're worth writing. You're worth it. Because when you see that in a book, when you see yourself in a book, it gives you more value. It helps you realize I can be the hero of the story. I can be the person who saves the day, or I can be the star, not pun not intended. I said it before. But I can be the main character. I can be that person. And that is a form of empowerment. But I don't like using the word empowerment when we're talking about books and young people, because I don't feel like books empower them. I think they just help them recognize the power that's already in them. The power's there. They've got it. They just got to know it's there. Books help reveal it. So by showing them themselves, whatever that story may be, I think we reinforce that. And I hope that they take that away from it. And I hope that they take away that you're not too much or not enough. You're perfect as you are. The way you talk is fine. The way you dress is fine. The way you navigate the world is fine. The way you think is fine. It's fine that you say finna. It's fine that you say ain't. You know, you are legit as you are. We know you are legit as you are. The things that you come up with, the styles, the trends, and all of that, later on, people cop it and try to emulate it and don't give you credit for it. Well, I'm here to tell you that you don't need their permission to do it, and you don't need their validation. You are good as you are. So when the rest of the world tries to steal your style, steal all of this and that, and that's when it feels as if they're telling you you're worthy, I want to tell you before they even get a chance to steal it. So yeah, I hope they walk away with that from my books.
Wish I had like a bell or something I could ring.
Right.
Like,
Right?
you know, something like that. A little horn.
I just got one line because I think between everything they all said, that was literally everything that was swirling around in my head. And I just want people to know that hood girls can be heroes too.
Hey,
Bam.
I love it.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and thank you to all of these authors for your time. And
I don't have corona, sorry.
Cough in this day and age. I cough now and I look around to see who saw me.
I can't even sneeze. Like I'm like, I'll get like pepper around and I'm in my own house, making eggs, and the pepper get in my nose. I'm like, don't sneeze, don't sneeze.
Look, let me tell y'all something. I got to share this. You know, they say one of the symptoms of corona is you lose your taste buds and your sense of smell. Well, I went to a restaurant and did curbside delivery, and I ordered chicken from them. And I'm eating the chicken, and the chicken got no taste. I'm like, oh God, I got corona. They just didn't season it. They just didn't season it. So don't jump to conclusions, children. Sometimes
I know who made that chicken. I know
who made it too. I'm not gonna say it, but it's some folk out here that's got a real aversion to seasoning.
We need y'all to put seasoning. It's all. We just need y'all to put some seasoning.
They was the ones who obviously cooked that chicken, because I was like,
you so
I lost my taste buds. Nah,
got us out here thinking we sick.
I thought I was sick. It was just somebody didn't season the chicken. So
You're probably like, we salted it.
that salt ain't
A
enough. Let's put this out there.
pitch.
Salt is not enough. Salt is not a seasoning. Salt is an enhancer for seasoning.
A word.
It's called table salt for a reason. It is not there to
Exactly.
make the food. It is there to put some on the back end.
On the
Exactly.
table, on the
So,
table.
On the table.
season your food so people don't assume they got corona when they eat it.
I respect it.
Season your food, write your book.
Mic drop.
Be anti-racist and arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And y'all keep me in your prayers because I'm gonna be in Louisville in the morning. Hopefully I don't get arrested.
If you do, we got you.
I mean, look, yeah, you get arrested, I'm gonna just add your inmate
got your
number to my
bail.
arm. I'm just saying, like, I got this list. Numbers here, you know, my heroes that have been arrested. I'm gonna add Kim.
We
Kimberly
gonna be
Jones.
tweeting
Go
free
on
Kim till it's backwards.
Yeah.
Free
Free.
Kim till it's backwards.
I was just like,
Got you,
oh
my
dear
friend.
God, I'm Louisville, I'm descending on you. Let's see how you do.
Free Kim till it's backwards. It took y'all a minute.
This is like the best. This is like the best panel I've done in a long time.
This is the
I
most
just wanna say
ratchet
thank
panel
y'all.
I ever been on.
But see,
Oh.
ratchet is wonderful, right? Because like I feel like I have to be so buttoned up all the time, right? And so now I'm like, I'm with all my homegirls, legit. Like I know all of y'all, and I'm like, oh,
I
these
love
are my
it.
babies. This is wonderful. We can just talk.
I love it. Y'all are magical.
Well, I'm not.
It went by super fast too. Naya, you the GOAT, girl.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm sorry. I wish I had more structure with the questions, but this is like the most fun virtual panel ever, and I hope next year we can all see each other in person.
In person.
In person.
Can I just
So wear your dang on mask.
Exactly.
Wear your mask, people. We all want this to end.
Come
Yes.
through 2021,
This
man.
is like the worst class project ever. Everybody, it's like the teacher just told everybody, put your head down on your desk. And if everybody's not quiet, you're not gonna get cupcakes. We ain't getting nothing. Y'all
No
keep
cupcakes.
messing up. Like, stop it. I hated group projects, so stop it.
Can I just read this to y'all real
That's
fast?
group
I
project,
just
yeah.
got this text and it said, my God, with a whole lot of explanation. I can't talk with these
It's
things.
fine.
Yes. It said, I didn't realize how desperately I needed to hear Black women communing and laughing. Such a good panel.
Oh,
Hey.
happy to do it.
Look at God.
Okay, go on. Turn up. Ratchet together. That's our new hashtag. Hashtag ratchet together.
Christina's so sophisticated. Christina, I'm sorry.
No.
She's not sophisticated. Don't let her fool you.
No. Nick knows.
I do know she's not sophisticated. She's sophisticated. She ain't sophisticated.
True. I text her some things.
It makes my whole day. It's wonderful.
Nai'a, I'm sorry. We're ready.
Oh, I don't want to end it. Okay, well, everyone's gonna hate me because I'll be like, okay, thank you for ending it now. Thank you everyone for watching. And yeah, like I said earlier, I hope we all get to commune in person. And this was the highlight of my day. And yeah,
Hard
thank you
same.
for answering all the questions and yeah, for your joy and advice and your book. So.
All right, Nai'a, next time I see you in person, you're going to do my eyeliner.
Right.
Oh my God, this took me like
and my baby hair.
And a ruler.
Like, yeah, you go get Kim's edges and my wing liners. You
I got all the hair
turn that up.
products, all the makeup products. I got all the like. You just let me know.
You got us, is what I think.
That baby hair, that is an art form, right?
It really is.
It
I
is.
can't do it.
You got it laid.
I can't do
Thank
it.
you. I'm glad you appreciate it. My brother was making fun of me. He's like, "Is that necessary?" I'm like, "Yes, it's necessary."
Yes.
Is that from Eco Styler? We got some Eco Styler. Is that Eco Styler?
Cantu.
Oh.
Try that
I'm a
then.
Cantu girl. It's cheap. It works. I love it.
I'm sure there's some people like, what are edges?
Yes, they're like, can we have a glossary?
What are edges?
Urban Dictionary.
Cantu. What is an eco styler? The baby hearse. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you, everybody. Yes. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.